Steph, thank you so much for joining me. It's wonderful to have you here. I understand that you are currently in lovely France. Tell me where you are and what you're doing.
Yes, well, I feel a little bit, lucky really, because we arrived at the weekend. We're in the south of France. We've had a house here, which we share with family for about 15 years now. So we drove over the weekend, and we got here on Sunday evening. So hence, I'm afraid you've got me rather underdressed today because it's so hot.
Well, hopefully that will give us plenty of likes and thumbs up to this whole interview and encourage people to come and watch the video. But it's lovely to have you here, Steph. And you are one of the co-hosts of the Eco Hotel Summit. And I'm very excited about this summit. I'm really looking forward to attending. And can you tell me a little bit about the mission for the summit? What's the whole reason for it being and being launched this year? Because it's the first one, isn't it?
It is the first one. Well, like everybody else, our plans got derailed this year, and we had a physical event that was due to take place, should have taken place in June in Slovenia, and it was going to be a very small, a little gathering of people, no more than 70 people, discussing some of the issues around sustainable operation of resorts and glamping and so on. And of course it didn't happen. So we found ourselves suddenly with all this work that had gone on with speakers and sponsors and no event. And then we were contacted by a gentleman who was a digital nomad. I don't know if you're probably aware of it. I didn't know about digital nomads. He works wherever he wants to work. So he was in Vietnam, and he's Portuguese, called Jay. And he said, oh, I'm doing an online eco hotel summit. Perhaps we should join forces. And I'd had about 3 weeks of really enjoying a quiet lockdown, kind of just relaxing and thinking, oh, thank goodness, and then we started this, and it built and it built. And we discovered quickly that by asking our speakers to pre-record content, and they didn't have to travel anywhere, and of course they were all in lockdown themselves, they all said yes. And then we tried a few more high profile speakers, and they said yes, absolutely, we'll take part. So we were a bit like kids in a sweet shop by that time. So we've ended up with over 80 speakers for the event. And I think the original brief, which was about how do we get back open after COVID, how do we become more sustainable, that kind of expanded somewhere along the line. And now we have speakers tackling subjects such as diversity, because the whole Black Lives Matters thing happened. And even before that, we had fantastic speaker like Yolanda, who was talking about diversity in marketing, because this is an area that really we all need to look at. We've got speakers about women in travel and tourism, because that's an intrinsic part of sustainability, is encouraging more women to be involved in tourism and to be educated in countries where perhaps they are not lucky enough to get the same education opportunities that we get. It's the second most important aspect for improving the environment, is educating more women. So yes, I could waffle on and on, but we've ended up with over 80 speakers, and it's 5 days of talks, and it all culminates in a virtual networking event, which is a 2-hour bizarre opportunity for people to move around a virtual room, meet one another on screen like this, and then go and talk to other people, swap contact details and so on and so forth, and meet some of the speakers, because with pre-recorded content, obviously it's very difficult. We can't have question and answer sessions, which is unfortunate.
Yeah, absolutely. Actually, the networking is the thing that I'm really excited about, and it's using a tool that I've not actually come across, and there's very few tools that I've not come across. So to be able to walk into a virtual room and be allocated a seat, but at certain points being able to move around and discuss things with other people on other tables is just absolutely fascinating. So the tools that have come out of this whole scenario that we find ourselves in are amazing, and I think new technology is one of the things that I think we're going to see really boom as a result of this. But in terms of your event, who is it aimed at? Who's going to benefit the most from this?
Well, I think that the small to medium size hospitality provider is probably the foremost in my mind, when we're designing the speaker program, in a sense, because we wanted to combine not only the really inspirational, the big resorts speaker, somebody like Sonu Shivdasani from Sunniva, for example, who operates the most incredible eco resorts in the Maldives. Well, of course, it's absolutely amazing to have him on board and have him discuss how he deals with his mosquito problem in an ethical and sustainable way. But that might not be so relevant to somebody operating a smaller glamping site, for example, in the UK. So what we wanted was to have a good mix of the really sort of one end, the big resorts, and the other end, somebody who's developed an app that will help you monitor how sustainable your operation is, and make a real difference to the way that you can operate. And so we've got quite a lot of tech talks on there, or tech related people speaking, who have developed clever ways in which operators can really cut down their admin time or get more direct bookings, for example. So sustainability, not just in terms of environmental sustainability, but sustainability in terms of operational sustainability, to free up more time and to make people more efficient in their operation. But beyond that, it's also, the event is also suitable for anybody working in sustainable travel. We've got food and beverage talks, we've got wellness and spa talks, we've got travel agents, traditional travel agents talking. So there is something for everyone in there, as you can imagine, with that number of speakers.
Absolutely. And so people can actually pick and choose which talks they listen to, is that right?
Yes, I mean, it's an important point that I haven't made actually, is that the whole event is free to view live. So, and it's all on British summer time. So for anybody in the UK or in Western Europe, it is quite convenient for you to just pick and choose, but you just have to register on the website, and then you can have access to all the talks next week from Monday morning through to Friday afternoon, and then the networking starts at 2:30 p.m. On Friday afternoon. So yes, and it's all free to view live, with some upgrade options for in order to store the talks or to access them at your leisure. And the networking is a small charge, because we have limited places for the networking, so we have to charge for that.
Absolutely. But I think that's a really good point, because one of the the majority of people who I support are small business owners. And as you said, this is an event for small to medium business owners. And at the moment, having had a time of, very, very quiet because of the lockdown, and people have been doing other things other than dealing with guests and the usual business, they now find themselves very busy. So it will be quite hard for them to access every talk that they may want to access next week. So that's really great to hear that there's other options, that they can store those talks and listen to them at their leisure. So that's
right. And we've given your supporters, your group, a special offer code for that very reason, so that they get 40% off the cost of watching the talks at their leisure, because of exactly that, nobody's got the time to sit there if they're open for business, and we understand that, but it might be something that you'd like to watch one or two in the evening or something like that, when you're relaxing. So hopefully that will make it easier for people.
Absolutely brilliant. So that code will be in the show notes, which will be inspiredcamping.com/030, as this is episode 30. And I'll also share it in the Facebook group where I have my business community. And that's really fantastic. Thank you, Steph, and your co-organisers for arranging that. That's brilliant. And I think, at a time when everyone needs that little bit of extra support, it's really nice to have it, that you are trying to do this to really boost the industry and boost everyone in the industry at a time that everyone needs that extra bit of support. So the responsible travel movement is growing at the moment. Mm-hmm. Why do you think that is? And do you think that's been impacted by what's happened with COVID?
I definitely think it's been impacted by what's happened. I think that people have realised that these threats to our way of life are real, and who could have predicted that we would have been spending such a large part of this year isolated from one another, as a result of a global pandemic. So when we talk about global warming, and when we talk about getting to that point where it's irreversible, I think that people are starting to get the message now, and that we have to act, and we have to act now. And so I think the two go hand in hand. I think that we're waking up to the situation that we're in.
I think one of the things that I personally noticed, because of where I live and who I work with and the industry I'm in, is people really started to notice little things when they went into lockdown, such as clearer skies, bluer skies, more animals being around, being in the open air for some reason, all these comments on social media and amongst groups saying, have you noticed how much less pollution there is in the sky? And I think a lot of that helped people really realize that actually, if I do change my behavior, then I do see these positive responses and these results. Whereas maybe before it was all me changing my behavior isn't going to have an impact. But people have actually seen it happen, that if everyone does a little something, that we have these major, amazingly positive environmental consequences.
Is it? That's the case. Yeah, I think that, I live normally on the Heathrow flight path, and to see the skies without the constant planes going overhead was incredible, really. But I also think that as tourism, we have an opportunity to get people, when they are most receptive to the natural world, when you're on holiday, when you go somewhere, when you go glamping and you're surrounded by wonderful nature, it really does make you appreciate and take the time out from your normal busy life what we've got and what we need to protect for future generations, I think. So I think we have a unique possibility, not to sort of educate our guests, so to speak, but just to provide some really wonderful surroundings for people to allow the nature to speak for itself, I suppose.
Yeah, I love that, because actually the way I see it is that if we open up nature and allow it to speak for itself, people grow to love it. And if people
Mm.
love something, they'll work hard to protect it. So it becomes an education in itself, and we don't actually have to do anything. And I love the fact that whenever I go out into nature with my family, my children, they just really, really connect with everything around them. And I think that, you know, everyone in this industry who's allowing other families and other, you know, children to do that, they are literally educating
Yeah.
our environmental warriors, our eco ambassadors of the future. And I think that your event that is helping those business owners to do that is very positive for everybody and will have some long-term impact. So I think it's brilliant. I'm really, really pleased that you're doing it. And I think we've had some talk before about why we think our planet and society needs this kind of event. From your view, why do you think that is?
Why we need this kind of event?
Yes.
I think because we need to collaborate more. We need to stop thinking about ourselves and our businesses in isolation, or stop thinking about other people in the same business as us as the competition, because together we can really affect some change and we can help each other. And so we've found that's been the most heartening aspect of doing what we've been doing, getting all these speakers together who've all donated their time and efforts, you know, free of charge, I have to say. And they've all shared their own ways in which they've managed to overcome problems and issues and be successful. And success should not be measured in your bottom line. Your success should be measured in how happy your work makes you and those around you, and what you can bring to future generations, I think, and what you can preserve. You know, we are guardians of what is here now, and we want to be able to protect that for the future. So I would say the idea of collaboration, the idea that you can go out there in a couple of months and you can say to people, do you want to talk about this? And everybody went, yes, I'd love to talk about this. I've got this great idea of something I want to share. And they're doing it not really for any other reason than they want to help other people by sharing best practice.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think that's one of the things that has come out, is that people are looking at their lives now and questioning, is this really where I want to be? Is this really what I want to do? And looking for other options. And that's certainly something that I've come across in the people I've been supporting recently. They've said, you know, they've really had this experience that has been good and bad, and it has made them question everything. And one of the things that everyone seems to want to do is to get into nature, get out in nature more. And if they can develop a business where that allows them to do that, you know, in a way that is actually supporting the environment as well, even better. So that's why I think I'm seeing so many more people coming into this industry at the moment. And it sounds like it's something that you want to really enhance through this event and what you're doing. So in terms of what's happening, and one of the other questions I get a lot, which is, but isn't this industry going to become too competitive because so many people are coming in? And one of the things you're trying to embrace through your event is how being different is really important. So everyone's sharing best practice, and Do you think people will get inspiration on how they can be different, how they can set their business differently and attract new
I
customers?
think so. I think, and you're a brilliant marketeer, and I've listened to many of your talks, and it's about not trying to be something that you're not. It's about really finding your unique selling point as an accommodation provider, whatever is unique to your environment around, what you offer, and then selling that story to successfully to your guests, because it doesn't matter where you are, whether you're in the Maldives or you're in Malvern, there are guests that will want to come to your place, and be confident in that. There are guests out there for you, but you have to tell them what it is that you are offering, and in an honest and open way, I think. And if you don't want to have children, you want to have an adults only glamping ground, well, explain that and explain your reason for it, and present it in a way which is open and honest. And I think that's the way forward, really. So there is no worry about competition and too many people entering the marketplace. It can only be for the good of all if we have more people operating environmentally friendly accommodation around the world.
Absolutely. And you're co-hosting this with Maya Dimnik, who is the creator and founder of the World of Glamping. And a lot of what she has within her portfolio is incredibly different. So lots of different structures and lots of amazing spaces. Is this something that you think people will see more of through your event, or make connections and networks within the industry?
Certainly. I think that we're seeing glamping as such, and glamping is it's a term that we've all discussed, because it really it encompasses so many different types of businesses. Each are as valid as the other. I mean, not everybody is in a situation to be able to offer tree houses in the jungle with their own infinity pools. It's wonderful, and it's very photogenic, and but Eco Hotel covers also a B&B that is doing its best to minimize waste, to try and have the different ethos. So yes, of course, it's wonderful to see unusual structures in amazing locations. And this kind of accommodation allows operators to pretty much build wherever they want to build, because they're not making that imprint then on the land. It treads lightly. So you will always find these wonderful, incredible, futuristic kind of structures in those places, in the canyons, but also what can be nicer than to see bell tents in an English meadow? I mean, it's all good.
Absolutely. It's really good to hear you say that, actually, because a lot of people who maybe see or hear the definition eco hotel may say, well, my glamping operation isn't a hotel. How is this going to relate to me? So you're saying there that it's from the very small to the much larger, much more 5-star, 7-star even luxury situations in foreign climes. So it's really interesting to hear you say that. I think it's quite reassuring, actually.
Well, definitely. And I think that people shouldn't undersell themselves, because the moment that you open for business and you take paying guests, you're part of the hospitality industry, and you are, your tents or your hotel rooms or your pods or whatever it is that you operate, you are effectively, in my opinion, you're a hotelier. And you have all those issues: marketing, cleaning, guest relations, taking bookings. Well, the issues are the same. It doesn't make any difference what your hotel rooms consist of. You are a hotelier.
Absolutely. Absolutely. So name a few of the top people you are having at your event. So I know that you've got someone from Condé Nast, you've got people from all over the place. Bensley Design Studios, I believe you've got the founder of that.
Well,
Tell us a bit about...
He's absolutely a wonderful, over the top, in a most amazing way, designer and architect. But he does answer all his questions from different parts of his incredible studio come home in Bangkok, and that is as over the top as you can imagine, and his little dogs are running around at the same time, so it's quite entertaining. But he has written a white paper called Sensible Sustainable Solutions, and he's sharing that for free, with everybody. And that is not about peacock feathers and, whatever. It is about how to design a structure to minimize energy consumption. That's a PDF that you will be able to download free of charge. So, he's, yes, he's flamboyant, but he's also, he's written a really incredible piece of work there, which he's sharing with everybody. So he's wonderful, and was very generous to come on board and support us. What else? Who else have we got that I haven't mentioned already? We've got Terry Stevens. He comes from the side of promoting destinations, for example, and he is the managing director of Stevens and Associates, and he does a wonderful talk about how the actual destinations themselves are going to have to change post-COVID and manage the numbers of people that are coming to stay, and how they are going to market themselves differently in future. So that will be an interesting talk. Well, it is an interesting talk. I've already seen it, obviously. So that's great. Out of 80 odd people, well, another big name, which I have to give a little shout out to, is Elora Hardy. I don't know whether you have ever seen her TED talk, but she is the creative director of Ibuku in Bali. Again, one of these fantastical situations she's got there. She works with her father, and they create buildings out of bamboo. And I urge you to go and see her TED talk if you get a chance, because what they can do with bamboo, you will not believe. And it's great to have women architects and designers, as well as, to see so many more women in this industry. And I think that's really important. Kim Shasa, another architect who created the fantastic tree house at Playa Viva that you might have seen, the sort of bamboo tree house. Kim Shasa Baldwin, and a fantastic architect as well. So we've got architects, we've got, I urge everyone to go onto the website and take a look at all the speakers we've got there.
Wonderful. So the owner of Playa Viva has been on the podcast, so I will make sure to link his interview in the show notes for this. Again,
Fantastic.
Reminder, the show notes are inspirecamping.com/030, as this is episode 30. So So if I may just finally ask you a last question, which is around what are you most proud of so far from what you've and your co-hosts have managed to achieve from this event that you are running in July? So tell me what's the one thing that you're most proud of?
Well, I do get a sense of pride when I look on the website and I see all of these fantastic speakers, that's for sure, because I remember all the hard work and emails and telephone calls it's taken to get them all together. But I have to say that, and this might sound a little bit, but in the last week we got an email from a hospitality school university in Namibia, and the tutor had found our website, had seen it somewhere about the event, and she thought that this would be a fantastic opportunity for her students to learn about the industry. So we've given them all their access all areas free passes. And next week, the poor devils are going to be spending 5 days listening to us all waffling on. But for me, the idea that we're not just navel gazing, we're not just talking to each other about stuff we already know, but that there might be some kids out there who will be taking it all in and maybe thinking, oh, this is an industry I can get behind. I'd like to be involved in this. That's made me feel really, really proud.
Yeah, and to be part of that journey of helping people build businesses for tomorrow in this wonderful industry which helps to support the environment. And I think that's fantastic. Hats off to you and your other organisers.
Well, just to be positive at a time when one could argue there's not much to be positive about is actually an achievement in itself at the moment, isn't it?
Absolutely. I couldn't agree more. And I think we'll end on that positive note. I think that's been fantastic, Steph. And I'll leave all the details of how people can get involved in your event in the show notes. And you know, all I can do is urge people to, at the very least, go and have a look at your website, because you have really got some amazing speakers lined up, and I think people will really enjoy the event, which is next week. Next week? It is next week, isn't it?
Next week from Monday morning, yes, exactly.
So, and that date is?
That's the 27th of July through to the 31st of July, and everybody is welcome, really.
Wonderful. Thank you so much for giving me your time today, Steph. See you
Thanks,
soon.
Sarah. See you soon. Bye-bye now.